It's the Cinema Night Podcast. I'm Mike, Travis, Eric. We're here to talk about movies. That's what we've done for 185 different episodes. This is episode 186. And we'll talk about Boys Don't Cry. That'll be the main crux of how we, I guess, organize our conversation for this show. cinemanightpod@gmail.com is a preferred method of email. Travis, it's exciting times. You're working with a mechanic. You're having fun. It's a good time on the weekend.
Yeah, car trouble. That's definitely how you want to spend your weekend. I'm starting spring break right now, so I figured it'd be a good time to be without my car for a couple of days if I needed to.
Yeah, just settle in, go nowhere, and spend plenty of money. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Eric. Hey, I'm the devil. Eric, what was the best experience you ever had with a mechanic? Do you have any good experiences?
Every time I have car trouble, I immediately hand the phone to my wife, who's an excellent negotiator, thanks to her training with security operations. She'll get them down. She'll get them down from like 800 down to like 200 with an apology for the former estimate. It's incredible.
Can you send her to my house today?
Yeah, is she available out on loan? Take a cut of the profits. A savings. Sure. If you could save $500, Travis, maybe give her $100. Yeah.
I would easily give her $100. I would give her $102 even.
Yeah, it's funny because Lee, I got pissed a couple weeks ago. This is total bullshit. It just keeps getting worse. I was going to pay my credit card bill on the due date, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, I'm playing with fire. It is the due date, but it's still the due date. It was 6:45 at night. I tried to pay it and said, "I'm sorry, sir. You must make your payment by 5 p.m. Central." I'm like, "Fuck you, man!" I got really angry, and then I called them up, and they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't change it. So Leanne would have done a much better job. She's much more cheery, and she keeps her patience in those situations. So
basically, my life is fucked because I don't have a woman in it. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it comes to trying to save money with these people, I mean, if you could just stay calm, you'll probably win the day. It's just a stupid rule, 5 p.m. Central Time. They just keep trying to make it tighter and tighter.
Yeah.
One time I sat there and watched her climb the Comcast ladder until she got to the CEO of Comcast, who told us no more payments from now on.
Oh, wow.
It was incredible.
Oh, that's almost unbelievable.
Jesus. Wow, what a great moment to be alive. Good job. All right, well, we watch movies. We'd like to suggest them. But before we do that, I'd like to read our latest email, cinemanightpod@gmail.com. It's our old pal, Dave, and this one's titled, RDJ Knows You. But it's not a question mark. It's not a period. It's just what it says. So, hi. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Dune 2 is absolutely stunning in IMAX 70 millimeter. I waited until I could get a perfect center seat. So glad I have a theater somewhat nearby where it's playing. It's only on 12 screens worldwide in the format it was shot on. It was an audio-visual spectacle on a six-story screen. Wow. So glad I sat it that way. Saw it that way. Sorry, guys. Not going to give any spoilers, but I loved it. Some complain about the pacing, but I loved wallowing in the world's Villeneuve created. Guys, come on, I'm listening to the shows all the way through. I don't listen to your pod like Mike watches movies. Sheesh. Just to clarify, it would be nice to have the next week's film in the show description because I just forget what show you announce almost every single time. Hence, having to scrub, there it is, Eric, to the end to hear the announcement. I like to refresh on the movie and play along with the pod and watch the film prior to listening to the episode. It is a better experience. Peace!
Relentless.
I've seen this guy scale buildings without any equipment, and yet he's unable to scrub to the end of an episode.
or write it down when he can write it down after he hears it the first time if it really means that much to him. Dune 2. So I got a text from our buddy, your co-host from Is It Safe, Mike, Steve Guile. He asked me if I'm going to see Dune 2. I'm like, I was okay with the first one. I'll catch it at home, when it's on Max. Didn't hear back from him. Like 40 minutes later, I get a text from Dave. Hey, I hear you're not planning on seeing Dune 2 in theaters. You better get on this.
Here we go.
Like you greatly just reduced the chances of me seeing it in theaters.
Wow. Yeah, you don't respond well to that. Yeah,
no.
Hey,
you're the same way. We don't like being told what to do.
I gotta say, I mean, those two guys, Steve and Dave, yeah, they're fired up for Dune.
They are.
It's not a priority for me. I would like to see the sequel, and I see that it's been rated quite well. It's getting huge returns from the raters, but at least those people who rate it online. Either way, is Dave asking? Does he want us to put the show description with the movie that's coming up next? That because we
Yes.
never do that. Is that basically what he's saying?
He's saying that he wants us to, in the show description, to include what's coming up next time. This is his third email on the subject, I believe.
Next week. Hey, next week. If for those of you that can't listen to the end of the show, scroll down here. Next week we'll be doing blah blah blah. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
No way.
I'm not.
We love you, Dave.
If I was a
We
fan
just
of the
don't
show
like
and I accidentally saw it when I was like looking forward to the moment, I would be fucking pissed. I'm sorry, it's not happening.
Yeah, all right. Stand firm, America. Love it. All right. Quarantine viewing picks. Travis, what are your suggestions for this week, movie-wise?
Yeah, I appreciate Dave's enthusiasm for the show.
Oh, I do too, sure,
Just
but-
not, we do it the way we want to do it.
We're not budget on this one.
I watched quite a few movies. I watched Harper from 1966 with Mr. Paul Newman. Classic California film noir, kind of like ticks all the boxes for a film noir, but from a weird era with 1966. And you got a bunch of other people in there who I'm blanking on who else. Oh, a really young Robert Wagner, which is fun. He's like 20. Yeah.
He's the guy that killed Natalie Wood, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Don't you
okay.
know?
Also, you guys remember Noir Leather? You guys ever go to that store here?
I didn't go to the store, but I did see a display, like a live model display when I was like 13 at a Nine Inch Nails show that abruptly changed my life.
Wow, cool. I always saw that ad in Metro Times, but I never went there. Every week, I'd be reading Metro Times. I'd be at
did go
Specs
there
Howard.
I did.
Oh, you did go
once.
there.
Yeah,
Cool.
I did. Actually, I take it back. Anyway, yeah. So film noir leather, same thing. I checked out. I did an episode with my other podcast, 9394, a music podcast with Travis Roy, on the Pulp Fiction soundtrack. So I revisited Pulp Fiction for the first time in forever. I mean, a long ass time. What a convoluted and brilliant movie. I'd really just kind of, it's a given. Everyone loves it, but I'd always really kind of kept it towards the bottom of my Tarantino favorites because I love the man's work, but it was just always because I love Reservoir Dogs, and then Pulp Fiction was like,
that's true.
yeah. So it kind of, it was kind of like the sophomore album when I was into the first album, like, oh, these posers, they don't get it because I was 14.
That was definitely you. I'll verify that. Yeah. So
I've
that's
grown
actually a
up now.
good point.
I've grown up, and man, just a brilliant film. Really, really nice to spend some time with that
Better
one.
than Res Dogs? Oh!
No.
No.
Revisited Iron Man 3, revisited Ant-Man, did some Marvel check-ins. Speaking of check-ins, I know that there's some concern that Nicolas Cage is doing serious work again, but don't worry, he's doing some garbage direct-to-video if there was video stuff too. I checked out Sympathy for the Devil from 2023, him and Joel Kinnaman, and throughout the feature, it's almost entirely all in a car and a diner, the whole movie. Shot in Vegas where he lives, so I think that has something to do with him signing on. But through the whole movie, not only is he doing like over the top Cage, he has a hot pink wig on for the whole thing.
Cool.
Yeah. Cage and hot pink wig.
Joel, by the way, Joel Kinnaman sucks, by the way. He's one of those guys that is handsome and tries to think he's a good actor. I've never bought it. I don't like those people.
There was a show that he was on called The Killing that was really good. And he has his moments, but he's made a lot of bad choices. I don't think he has a great agent or something. I liked him in Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad.
Fun.
He's got his moments.
About Alex
So that's
Murphy.
not the guy
Is
who
he better
played-
than Peter Weller?
That's what I was gonna say. That was him playing the new RoboCop, right?
Yeah, of course that was.
Yeah, maybe I'm holding a lot of resentment there. I went to see that RoboCop in theaters. I was that fired up. I was willing to give it a shot, and I have not seen that movie since. That was 10 years ago, actually, this year.
Yeah, it's a one and done. There's no need to revisit that movie. Speaking of bad movies, I've been on a bad movie kick. I saw for last night for the first time. I saw the legendary Troll 2 from 1990, supposedly one of the worst films of all time. It was really, really bad. One of those great meetings where just horrific writing meets horrific acting, and an hour and a half turned into 5 hours easily. That's what it felt like. And checked out Dream Scenario. Speaking of our boy Nick Cage, And obviously, this was an A24 effort and of high quality. I believe you already saw it, Eric. You said you thought the premise more or less paid off, and I agree. Didn't love the film, but certainly worth checking out. Weird. The premise holds up. Actually, for me, this has been a great week of television. Invincible season 2 is back on the air, and the first 2 episodes of the second half of season 2 are great. One of the best shows out there.
Is at all.
It's from Robert Kirkman, who did Walking Dead. It's a comic strip that he did before Walking Dead, and it's just a huge. I mean, J.K. Simmons, Stephen Yeun, Clancy Brown, just huge voice cast. Walton Goggins, just a huge voice cast. Sandra Oh, and Zazie Bates, just tons of people, and it's like, oh my god, the depth of storytelling here and like the brutality of how they present the superhero world is unmatched. I mean, even The Boys doesn't quite come close because that's so satirical and cynical. This is more just like, if there were superheroes and all this stuff going on, it would just be a brutal planet that we live on. It's very gory, and it's very, very like convoluted in a good way in terms of the story and the narratives. I'm on season 2 of The Bear finally, because I got Hulu again, and loving season 2 of The Bear. And since I got Hulu, I started watching Shogun, the current miniseries, which has been getting a lot of buzz, and rightly so. Shogun is amazing. I mean, it is really, really good. It's the kind of show, it's a 10-episode series. When it finishes, I know I'm just going to start it over and watch it over again. It's all this political machinations of these different Japanese regents that are trying to like figure out how to take over the rest of the country together. And then you got like this Englishman who's held captive, and he's trying to like escape, but also then trying to like build up in the esteem of the person who's holding him captive. It's a lot. I mean, it's getting a lot of comparisons to Game of Thrones, and rightly so, in terms of, and it's based on books that came out decades before J.R.
Yeah, what was that old ass movie called Shogun that I didn't like?
Yeah, it was a mini series, from the 80s, and this is a mini series.
Also the 80s.
Yeah, and this is based on the same series of books, but man, it's really good.
Also Shinobi. It makes me think of Shinobi for some reason.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, it's a classic Sega Genesis game. So.
Oh, I don't remember that one. But yeah, Shogun. Definitely check out Shogun.
Altered Beast was preferred by many people, but I like Shinobi. So
Revenge of Shinobi.
Revenge of Shinobi.
I had Nintendo. I was Ninja Gaiden.
Hey, well, I had Nintendo, but then when I upgraded to the 16-bit world, I became a Genesis guy. You had to make a choice. Was it going to be Super Nintendo or Genesis? And you know what? The decision was made for me by a parent, not me. I didn't get a choice. It was like, here, you got Genesis now. You're a Sonic guy. Move on. Like, okay, well.
I was particularly swayed by that superb marketing that Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah! Oh, man, that's good shit. All right, is that it, Trav?
Yeah.
No,
sounds like you've been
something.
pretty
X-Men 97.
Oh yeah, again, great television. That is, I did forget something. The first 2 episodes of X-Men 97 were fantastic.
It was like very few of like these what do they call them?
Yeah,
not like
reboots,
remakes, reboot. Not even that.
Like return to nostalgia.
There's this word for it.
Requels.
No, it's something. God damn it!
It's a continuation of
revival. Very few are like instantly transported. The magic is back. I'm telling you, man. It took like 10 seconds, and I was on my couch eating Lucky Charms, a 12-year-old boy without the horrific things to happen in his entire life to come, and some good ones. I'm telling you, man, it's so fucking good. It cleanses the palate of everything I've been bitching about for the past 15 years in this universe. It's so good. But I've got these worries that I've been waiting to address. First of all, we've got this guy, the head writer. The scripts are so good. They're earnest. They're thought-provoking. They're timely. But they just fired the fucking guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead to season 2. What's
he's already
happen?
done 2 seasons. He's already done 2 seasons. Yeah, he's already show ran for 2 seasons that we just start. It's all ready to go apparently, or like his part is done. But I'm hearing that the rumors I've heard, and they are rumors. Some people are complaining. They're like, oh, he's gay, he's black, it has something to do with that. but I've heard rumors of toxic work environment and just like cruel to people is what I'd heard. So who fucking knows? They're not Disney's not saying. It's kind of an abrupt and weird thing to do, like 2 days before the show drops, to very publicly fire and not give an explanation. So
just to clarify, his name's Bo DeMeo, and yes, he was fired weeks before Marvel X-Men 97 took off here live, which is available now. Bo DeMeo.
But I agree,
Disney
looking like a great job.
I don't think they want their Disney name in the same sentence as OnlyFans, so I think that's where a lot of the controversy is.
But he wasn't doing any nudity. It wasn't. It had nothing to do with that.
It's Disney. They're like, no, shut it down immediately. We don't want anything to do with that.
But that was years ago. He's literally been doing that for years. So if that was the reason, why would they wait until a week before the fucking show airs? That doesn't make any sense.
Fuck you, Disney.
Situation. We might have an apology and a James Gunn situation where he's brought back for season 3.
Remember that?
It's so good. Mm-hmm. It's so good. Okay, what else, man? That's overshadowed everything because it's so awesome.
It was good.
Yeah. Night to Remember. I went back on Tubi to the original Titanic story because I'd never seen it. I'm like, man, how did they do the Titanic in 1958? Let's see if these effects hold up. It's fucking awesome. And the funniest part is, I'll get to the funniest part, but a great part is like, there's like dozens of shots that literally James Cameron just stole. I mean, I understand you're making a movie the same event, but like there's incredible shots that he just redid. So I lost a little respect for Jim Cameron in terms of the direction on the very fine Titanic 97. And then like most of the movie is this intense, realistic depiction of the goings on, but with this side story. Have you seen it? But with this side story of like a cook who like knows that he's fucked, so he decides to just get drunk. So like once in a while during like these horrific moments, you cut to like the cook like stumbling around drunk, being like, "Well, I'm fucked. Like, what's going on now? Oh, I'm about to drown." Then he survives. He's like he's on the lifeboat. Like, shit, man, what a ride. Anybody got any booze? It's insane. But what struck me the most is like no score. Like no score. Wow. So like all the sound effects are amazing. Like no one talks about, and I went back and read some testimony how fucking loud the steam engines were, and that's all you could hear piercing through the night were these loud ass steam engines and these screams, and they nail it in 1958. It's fantastic on Tubi. If you're bored, give it a shot. Priscilla. I mean, I love every single movie Sofia Coppola makes, and I'm the world's largest Elvis fan, so I'm like, why not? I'm turning this on HBO Max. And it's good. It's good. It's good. The Presley estate is pissed because they paint Elvis in a depiction that, sure, he was, but he was also many other things, including a lot of great things, but they solely depict him as this predator, weirdo, drug addict, which I'm not that cool with, but it is Priscilla's perspective. It's a damn fine film. If you like,
well, he was a drug addict.
Yeah, like I said,
that's true.
He was all these things, but they don't bother showing him in any good light. Like, they don't bother showing any light. So I had some issues with that, but overall, fine.
By the same token, it's not like we saw a lot of the predatory behavior in the movie Elvis. There's different perspectives for different protagonists, and both truths can be true at the same time.
Yeah, a quick motel scene. Yeah, it was weird.
Good companion piece. I dug the film. Other than that, I've been watching a lot of cold case files, and every time I watch this show, I say the same thing. How is there not a law? I haven't researched it. I'm like, is there a law about this? And so far, no law. Every single episode, 40 years goes by until the new guy at the police station says, "Why don't we check out that box in the basement, see if there's DNA on it?" They do, and the case is solved immediately.
Backlogs, hey! Backlogs.
Yeah, isn't it great that we could all just be one DNA test away from being a murderer?
You guys think about doing that?
My DNA tested, I'm going to become a murderer?
Don't do that. Don't do that. You'll be framed. You don't want to end up in CODA's system because that will pin that shit on you.
I know. Shit.
It's not worth it. You might be Scottish. Great. Who cares? Don't get into that system because you're fucked.
It's too late. My brother already did.
Uh-oh.
They're leading it right back to you. There's two brothers, either Judd or Travis. One of them is the murderer.
Oh, man.
That's it. What
about you,
Michael? Yeah, man.
You know what I did? I went back a long time ago on this show called Cinema 9, which you guys can find everywhere and on YouTube. Subscribe, give us a rating. We'd love that. Help the show grow. We've been doing this show for a long time, since April 2020. So we're coming up on another anniversary next month, actually.
Yeah.
I went back and watched a movie where I can't even remember how I ruled on it. I should have checked the episode out to see what my final analysis was. Good old Vanilla Sky, the Citizen Dildo.
Yeah, Dildo.
Citizen Dildo, which we did with Luke. And I was just getting really angry. Well, I'm like, I fucking hate this movie.
Oh, it's awful.
I wrote this. This movie sucks. This movie fucking sucks. I wrote this down. This was about 10 days ago. So.
Yeah, as I recall, we tore it apart on the show.
Ripped it to shreds.
Yeah. That was one of our first episodes. That was like episode 7 or something.
Yeah. It just,
oh,
God. Fucking. But at the end, I like, okay, well, I can see that. I like this premise at the end, but all the shit I had to slog through to get to that point is not worth it. And it never will be. So it still doesn't hold up. And Tom Cruise's makeup, whatever. It's trash. So how can you not know who's who? Oh my God, she's talking about 1 minute she's Penelope Cruz, 1 minute she's Cameron Diaz. That's what I'm noticing in that movie. I've been watching a show now that I think it's a good time to go back and check it out. You know, we kind of got through this period of history in the United States, and we're kind of past that, but we're still connected to it, but in a different perspective. And that's Silicon Valley, which was a Mike Judge show on HBO that I think is 5 seasons, and I'm on season 2 going back. I remember I watched it when it came out, and I really enjoyed it, but it's really interesting to watch it now just because it's 2024, and social media became the law of the land in this country, and now we've got a little perspective on its existence now since, MySpace and Facebook took off, and of course Twitter, blah, blah, blah. So I'd recommend checking it out. I've enjoyed watching it. I think the whole cast kicks ass. I think that Thomas Middleditch dude who plays like the main CEO of Pied Piper, I think he got in trouble for being a scumbag or something. I can't keep track of this shit.
It wasn't him. It was the other guy. It was TJ Miller.
Oh, no, I know about TJ Miller.
They both got in trouble? Oh.
Yeah, Middleditch was a douche. And TJ Miller was clarified, I thought, at least in my research, but whatever. I know that him and Ryan Reynolds don't work together anymore with Deadpool, so...
It's funny, almost, yeah. So he got into Marvel, and then Martin Starr got into Marvel in the Spider-Man movies, and then Kumail Nanjiani became one of the Eternals. So a lot of Marvel harvesting from that show.
I actually saw a great interview with Kumail talking about the mistakes of Eternals and hoping that he was too locked in. He was listening to everyone else. He thought Eternals would be a great movie, and everyone said it would be, and then it didn't end up being that way. I thought it wasn't bad. I was with you, Travis. I liked Eternals, but it didn't. Yeah,
I like Eternals quite a bit, but I read that or that interview or parts of it. He was talking about how he was kind of blindsided. It was like the first Marvel movie to not be well received since I don't know, seriously 8 or 9 years or something. So
since Iron Man 3.
Yeah, probably. Even that was received probably better than the Eternals. So it was probably
Captain America, the first Avenger. Yeah, Joe Johnston. Let's bring it up.
It's not as bad as I remember. That one's better than I remember.
It is. I think we also agreed on that now.
No.
But yeah, so I've been watching that, and I also been watching some more CinemaSins. They've been doing some good, some movies lately. I wanted to run through. They did a good old fashioned Aaron Sorkin movie. So I was so glad to see they did A Few Good Men, and they made fun of the score with that stupid Casio. But I still like A Few Good Men. All right, it is. And if you want to tell us what you think about these movies or anything else we've been watching, cinema9pod@gmail.com. You can also connect with us on your favorite social media. Does anybody ever use the Instagram? Does that still exist?
I've not checked in on it in a very long time.
That's why I'm asking you to, because I never really used it. You guys really kept it going, so who knows? Someone may have already hacked us over there. We could be we could be representing something we have nothing to do with. Who the fuck knows? Anyways,
no idea.
Check it out. Check out that Instagram, folks. It's been a while.
We put a lot of effort in the first 2 years of the show.
Really did. You guys were grinding, man. Reviews nonstop. Yeah, I think somebody.
Came to find out that okay, so now we've got thousands of followers on Instagram, but didn't seem to be any translation to that, meaning people listening. So it's well, what the fuck? I didn't get into this to run a social media account.
It was just 3,000 movie podcast accounts talking to each other simultaneously. That's what it was, roughly.
Pretty much.
So. All right. Well, the laughs will end now because we are going to switch gears and get into today's choice. Eric Gresham selected Boys Don't Cry, a 1999 film directed by Kimberly Pierce, a movie I had never seen before.
Oh.
Yeah, I never saw this movie. I remember it quite well, but I never actually sat down and watched it. In fact, I don't even honestly recall. It wasn't the type of movie, I guess, growing up in my friends that like it was on all the time. I was like, oh, hey, I'll just jump in on Boys Don't Cry. That never happened. It didn't.
Well,
I'm
it
pretty
wasn't
sure
one
of
that we.
that.
Don't say
Yeah,
it.
it wasn't one that we watched over and over again or anything, but it was an
Not as a
Academy
group.
Award-winning film.
All right.
So, yeah.
I know, yeah. Hillary Swank, Academy Award. She went on to do, hey, a bit part in Insomnia. Well, a side part, supporting part. But anyways, Eric, you selected this movie. Tell us about Boys Don't Cry, the first time you saw it.
You know, I missed it in '99, but this film has a very unique honor of being the last film I ever rented from a video store.
No.
This was, I
Ooh.
think, in like 2013. I wanted to see it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Like, I think I had to go to like Family Video in like fucking like Waterford or something. I still owe them like $1,000. They're not getting it. But yeah, I rented it because I was curious, and I came away devastated. But it's been 11 years.
Okay, Travis, you see this film?
Yes, I mean, I was working at Blockbuster when it came out. I've always been really
I work at Blockbuster.
Yes, I've always been really into the Academy Awards, so I was definitely I caught this. I don't think I saw it in theaters, but I definitely watched it at the time. Yeah, but I hadn't seen it since.
Ooh. Well, I'll tell you, I definitely remember this movie when it came out, but I never saw it. I remember that was the first time I got to know Hillary Swank, and she won an Academy Award. I probably caught the Oscars for a few minutes in the year 2000 when she won for this movie. Also, Chloe Savini? I like to say Savini. I always said Savini.
Say whatever you want. It's a weird name.
I mean, if she calls me up and corrects me, then I will forever say it properly. I promise. Chloe Sevigny. Chloe Savini. Chloe Savignon. Please call me. 734-489-3224. I'd love to hear from you. All right. So, IMDb. It's a real phone number. IMDb rating. Nobody cares, though. It doesn't matter. They all have our information anyways. What's the rating on this one, then? Boys Don't Cry. I mean, I didn't see it at the time, but we obviously, Hillary Swank won an Academy Award. This has to be well received, does it not?
Prestigious film, controversial. I could see people review bombing it, but it's not new.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 7.1.
8.1.
Yeah, I would say it's probably like a 7.7. That's my guess. 7 and 7. Actual retail price on IMDb, 7.5. 7.5 with 103,000 reviews. And its
Fair enough.
popularity is on the move. Up 437 spots, which I never really know how that's where that's coming from. But
Meaningless.
I know. I just repeat meaningless things on this show. And of course, we give you the Rotten Tomatoes review. The thing is about movies like this, so you said it's controversial. I'm just curious. Could you elaborate on why you said that, or do you want to wait, Travis?
On why it's controversial?
Yeah.
Because this is a movie about a trans man in 1999 when people are still freaking out about trans people in 2024. So,
okay. I get what you're saying. Say no more. Now I understand.
Yeah, I'm surprised I had to explain it to you.
Well, there's a lot of ways that could have been interpreted because we hadn't covered the movie yet, so that's why I checked. It's got a 90% from the critics, a rock solid score, and an 87. They love it a lot more on Rotten Tomatoes than the IMDb people do. Does that mean the IMDb people are more enlightened or less enlightened? It seems like they're less enlightened. Rotten Tomatoes has the advantage? Unbelievable.
They're bots, Mike. We covered this.
Oh, that's right. They're bots. Shit. As far as those critical reviews, some of these people are real, though, right, Eric? At least a few of these people that we're about to read their... Oh, they're not... Shit. Destin Thompson?
Names are all anagrams, including Destin Thompson.
He's a bot. Damn it! I knew it was good. Let's see what Philip Martin from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette said. Stark and sharply observed, with an underlying tension that does justice to its brutal sadness. Huh. Okay. Sharp. It's a sharp film. Wesley Morris of the San Francisco Examiner once upon a time said, if hers is not a star-making performance, it's a wake-up call to anybody who thought the last time Swank would kick ass was in the next Karate Kid. Yeah.
Good film.
Hillary Swank. Was it Next Karate Kid? You love that one?
Yeah, I do like it.
Ooh. Maybe we'll pick that one for the show.
Never caught that one.
Let's see. Oh, Roger Ebert.
Ebes.
The first time I saw the movie, I was completely absorbed by the characters. Only later did I fully realize what a great film it is, a worthy companion to those other masterpieces of Death on the Prairie, Badlands, and In Cold Blood.
Huh.
Okay.
I thought about it like that. That's a good call.
Yeah.
I was trying to see if there's no Dustin Thompson. I mean, this was. Yeah, sorry guys. I'd like to read a. How about here's Richard Corliss from Time Magazine. The movie lets down the material. It's too cool. All attitude, no sizzle horror under glass. No sizzle horror under glass. Huh.
Okay.
All right.
No
there it is.
sizzle horror under glass.
Sizzle horror.
So it says no sizzle. Yeah, no sizzle - horror under glass. No sizzle horror under glass. No sizzle - horror under glass.
Maybe it's a reference or some sort of something we're not getting, because otherwise I understand these words separately, but you string them together like this and it becomes meaningless.
All right, one more that disagreed. Peter Rayner of New York Magazine said the film is framed too unquestioningly as a transgender rebel without a cause, with Brandon the martyred innocent who dies for her infatuations.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is coming from a trans
Dead naming.
What, dead naming? Is that what we said?
Well, yeah. I mean, this person's referring to the character as her. I can understand, refer to Hillary Swank as her, fine, but referring to Brandon, that's he. Which abundantly clear. And
the tombstone of real life says daughter on it.
Yeah, because as the movie explains, Brandon did not have a good relationship with his mother.
He sued his mother for harassment, and she denied his situation until his dying day.
Right. So.
Yeah,
and then too unquestioningly, what we should be like more, forgiving towards Tom Nissen and John, whatever his name was. I don't know.
The dude from Empire Records, the shoplifter. That's why I was like, oh my God, it's the Empire Records shoplifter. That's the first thing I said when I.
Brendan the Sexton the Third, which having the third in your acting name is dumb. Just you're Brendan Sexton.
Especially third. Nobody likes anybody who's a third. Like Davis Love the third is a golfer. Fuck off. Is there a favorite third? Yeah, I don't think there is. Is there?
Favorite thirds.
No, I automatically dislike you if you're using third in your name. It could be true, but you don't have to walk around and advertise it.
So I never saw the movie. I did not know this was based on a true story. I'm telling you now, so I can just bring this up to give you my perspective. I was blown away when there was an N card.
Oh, dude, you didn't know?
Real life shit. No, I had no idea. I know everything about the Matthew Shepard case, but I never fucking heard about the Brandon Teena situation. I never knew. So I was stunned. I was really stunned.
Oh yeah, it was that was a big deal when it. That was why the documentary came out, then the movie came out, and so yeah, that was. I wonder what it was like to watch it without knowing that. How weird.
Oh, well, I've got a lot of notes, actually, and they'll probably look in a different light based on knowing this really is a true story at the end.
Can you imagine if this person was real?
Imagine if this was true? Wow.
Yeah, no, I wrote several things like a huge wow in all caps when I also said this movie was called How Long Can You Prolong the Dong? That was another thing I wrote, too, before I realized this was a true story and that this person had been murdered in real life cruelly. But I also was stunned that did that actually happen? You carry around a dildo with you to use as a penis? I was blown away. It was like the most mind-blowing thing. I couldn't believe it because I thought that the reveal would finally happen, because part of this movie for me was about, all right, at a certain point, there's conflict brewing here. There's going to be a reveal. And how's it going to be handled? What's going to happen? And boy, I was not really prepared for how that actually was handled in several situations, I will say.
It's the late 90s. We've got, in terms of transgender depictions, we've got Tootsie and Miss Doubtfire. And these aren't even true transgender. It's you know what I mean. I'm not going to get you're canceled. But we've got Tootsie and Dress to Kill and Silence of the Lambs. So if we've got a drama in the late 90s, you know where this is headed. It's going to get murdered.
I thought about it for sure. But I was also wondering between just the two characters who were in love. Like and it actually went well. She didn't care. It seemed like she was like, when they show that clip of the cleavage, like when they're making out and getting it on in the field out there under the beautiful sky of Nebraska, I was like, oh, she already knows she's a woman. He's a woman. She doesn't care.
In the movie, but do me like, yeah, you don't want to.
Oh, I'm watching the movie. I'm talking about the movie.
I know. I'm just saying, I did so much research and damn, it's
depressing.
Well, then tell me. Fill me in.
Depressing amount of liberties taken here.
Okay, tell me.
Particularly when it comes to the Lana Tisdale character.
Okay, such as?
He's gesturing at me. So the movie gives us this relationship between Brandon and Lana, where Lana is someone who's evolved and just, pansexual perhaps or whatever, just doesn't give a fuck about Brandon's bits, just cares about his heart and loves him. And so Brandon has this love toward the end of the film, and Lana is there with him when he dies, and he's looking at Lana when he dies, and so and all that's done for us. All of that is done for us as the audience, because Brandon didn't have any of that. She rejected him when she found out that he was biologically born female or whatever, and went so far as to sue the filmmakers for depicting her as continuing to date him and not having a problem with it. In reality, Brandon died very much alone, and no one cuddled his corpse. And the movie is incredibly sad, just incredibly sad. So I can kind of understand the impulse to try and lessen the impact on us as the viewer by including all of this. But I do think it does a disservice to Brandon, because if we're trying to present what happened to him, which in a lot of ways, I think a lot of the movie is very accurate from what I gathered. But when it came to this crucial point, it's all sugar-coated and softened, and it's for us.
Definitely does a disservice to Philip Devine, a black man in rural Nebraska.
Yeah,
was murdered.
He's not even in the movie.
On the same day.
Yeah, he doesn't even get to be in the film.
Right.
And
it didn't work narratively.
And I'm not sure why they changed Candace. Lisa Lambert's name to Candace something. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe there was a fear of getting sued there too. Yeah, but it does seem kind of. Yeah, I agree. Definitely a disservice to Philip Devine.
Yeah, I learned that one. I did do research afterwards, but I didn't know as much coming in. I will say this too. So I wrote a lot about this being. I mean, I was getting really pissed. I'm just gonna tell it like it is. I'm a first-time viewer watching a movie. I'm not here to sugarcoat or toe a line here. I'm a first-time viewer. I was getting pissed at Swank's character. I'm like, she's doing this is really. You're so in denial, and you're also trying to live this double life, and I get it. I automatically assume and understand the immense pressure society puts on transgender people right there. But you're still putting yourself in situations, or it's written as, that Brandon is lying and constantly lying, and in intimacy with the person that she wants to marry, he wants to marry right away, and she doesn't know half of what's going on with Brandon. I wrote a lot of things out, like, boy, they really made this character a piece of shit in a lot of ways at times. And I was wondering if this was fair or not to the character. Because it was, I just really was not having fun the first 40 minutes. And the first 40 minutes is kind of just like, people fucking around, getting to know each other, riding on fucking bumpers, jet skiing, whatever the hell that was. Yeah. And also, white trash the movie, a lot of trash stuff that I'm not into that stuff. I lived on the periphery of that life for a time. We all did, obviously living where we grew up. And I was not a fan of that life ever. So I'm also like, this is boring. This was boring several times during the first hour.
Shades of Bully. Right?
Oh,
Shades of Bully.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Big shades of Bully here.
You know what Larry Clark would have did with this material?
Yeah, he would have.
Yeah, except you have like those people are Hollywood, Florida trash, but they're like driving fast cars, and the music's a little different. Yeah, I see that. Good call.
But in terms of spending, you're waiting for this true story murder at the end of the film, but for much of the film, you're spending time with some people that you wouldn't spend time with in real life. And I agree that first 40, 50 minutes or so of this film, on one hand, it's incredibly necessary because we need to establish the relationships, why Brandon would put himself in this situation and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I agree. A lot of that is it drags. Like I don't enjoy spending time with these people. But I do think that we're supposed to be frustrated with Brandon. The opening sequence, or one of the opening sequences of the film, Brandon runs to his cousin Lonnie's house while he's being chased by a crew of men who could easily beat him to death, and he's giggling. He's laughing his way through it, and which is probably like a trauma response, like it's laugh or cry kind of thing. But still, there's like a flippant kind of not fully appreciating the gravity of his situation, which I think is intentional, right?
And it also screwed me up, Travis, too. I thought for a minute there, I got confused until later in the movie that I thought it was a flash. I thought we were flashing back to 1993. Again, not knowing this true story, the way it was shot, I'm like, oh, do we just go back in time to 93 now? Were we in 99? Because the movie takes place in 99, so I did get confused.
In the title card, title card comes a little late, right? It's not like it's like right at the very beginning of the movie. It's like 5 minutes into the film. Yeah,
it's after that opening with him and Lonnie is the cousin, brother. Cousin. And they go to the rodeo place, and then you see them being chased back by all these homophobes, and then I was just slightly confused. There's not a huge deal. So.
I fucked myself. I read too much into this case, and it completely did a 180 on my original take of this film when I watched it like 3 weeks ago, whenever we picked it. This is a first-time filmmaker. Didn't even finish her graduate at her film school because she wanted to get this project rolling. And this is remarkable filmmaking just in and of its own right. I love the choices here. The one reviewer called it like too stylistic and too cool for such a tragic story. I don't know. You got to give the sense of freedom and like this, they compared it to Badlands. It's perfect. It's got that same kind of energy of this person wanting to get out there and be a free spirit, and I love that about the first chunk of the film. I dug. I wasn't bored at all. Like I found it a little icky that she was kind of filming it as if it were like fucking Donnie Brasco. Like, when are they going to find out? Like, it's an undercover cop movie.
Yes.
There's ways around that.
Yeah, I kept waiting for a reveal. Seriously, that was the whole. I'm like, all right. It was kind of like. The Crying Game is a movie we haven't talked about here. That that's a movie that should get more credit here. You mentioned the shitty movies, but The Crying Game was a movie that was better than Miss Doubtfire and such with Tootsie.
Oh, yeah. And the same year, wasn't it? Or close to
No, it was 93. It was the same year that it was 92.
It was 93. Okay, yeah, this was 99. I keep on thinking.
But oh, crap, I lost it. What were we talking about?
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I should have stayed at my point.
Well, Kimberly Pierce, I mean, you were saying something along the lines of her being a first-time director. I know that she spent years trying to get this made, and I imagine that she was very much had it in her head that the audience would know all of this in advance. You were talking about how you were waiting for the reveal, and how it's almost like a Donnie Brasco thing.
The Crying Game was screwed for me, too, because I had never seen it, but I'd already heard all the dick jokes, like I said on that episode, which you guys can listen to or see on YouTube. But so I had the same problem here. Unfortunately, I knew that this is a transgender situation, and eventually these decisions that Brandon was making were going to be, there's going to be a point where like, hey, if we're going to fuck, are you going to really, you don't have a penis or not? It's just stuff that's pretty typical natural development of making out with people and getting down. It's going to happen eventually.
Yeah. Well, I think Eric made a good point about the first 40 minutes of the film and how it depicts Brandon's freedom, because we as an audience need to see him as more than a victim. And I imagine
died at 21, right?
Yeah, and the family and the filmmakers needed to present him as more than just a victim. You had to get a sense of the freedom and the kind of fringe, like wild happiness that he had, at least in this character. I don't know how much that was true to life, but we need a person, not a body.
Agreed. And they're young people. Okay, so let's bring in Sarsgaard. Is this like the big first break for Sarsgaard? Like, because I didn't remember. I couldn't remember my first time seeing Sarsgaard. Either way, I couldn't tell how old he was supposed to be in this movie because his hair was so goddamn long and he was so gross. But he played that character well. I mean, it was. Oh my God. I read that when they did the rape scene, like it was really tough on these actors who had to do the rapes themselves. Like it was, and I can imagine that. I mean, that shit was getting real, and this really happened. So if you're really getting into this movie, Some actors overplay this stuff, but in this situation, I actually did sympathize with like, wow, that must have been fucking tough, man. Real fucking tough.
There's 3 scenes like that, right? I mean, there's the bathroom scene where she is where they hold him down and make him show off his parts to Lana, which is an incredibly difficult thing to watch. And then the rape scene is, I mean, I was bawling. It's really hard to watch that scene. And then the murder scene. So you got these 3 scenes in a row. More or less. I mean, the last half hour of the movie, you have these scenes almost back to back to back, and it is like the Last Temptation of Christ. It is bad.
Yeah,
this movie's long too. I said it was too long, Eric. That was one of my complaints with that. Actually,
I think it's those 3 scenes that make this kind of they make it a movie for like, I don't want to get into this. I'm going to anyway. For like straight people in the late 90s that just turned off Jerry Springer and are now going to watch a hard-hitting drama to have this material palatable. So when I look at reviews from trans people nowadays, I'm shaking my head and I'm getting pissed because they say, you ask me if a movie like this it empowers me or that I can identify, and God, no. It makes me more scared to be what I am. It's a very fear-mongering script and film that's only goal is to either depress the fucking shit out of you or have people that aren't like Brandon identify with him. It's confusing.
And I think that second point is the key point, right? I think that was the intention, was to make audiences care about a trans person, which is admirable. But you're right. It becomes practically a snuff film, and it's a difficult watch.
Okay, so the reason I said it was too long is because what I thought, there's a couple false endings in this movie almost. I thought they were getting away. I'm like, oh my God, wow, okay. So after the terrible shit happens to Brandon with the rape and the exposed and the beat, it was awful. So they got to go through that whole nightmare. And then it's like, oh, okay, it looks like they're going to leave together. And then Brandon comes to the room, and then she's got a different vibe about her. Lana does. And I'm like, oh, shit, I thought this was the end. And I thought it was the end when they were out in that little outhouse barn shed thing they were at over at Candace's place prior to that. And then now we got a whole nother final scene, which I wasn't aware of. Again, as a first-time viewer, and there's other people like me who don't know everything about this story, didn't know the movie. So I was like, several times I said, man, can we cut like 25 minutes off this movie? It's an hour 58 runtime. I thought it was too long. I did. And this is also the challenge here. We haven't said this, I don't believe. Trying to separate the reality of the brutality that happened to the real life Brandon Teena versus critically looking at the film itself. I feel like that's going to be a challenge here for somebody.
Definitely is for me. It intensely is for me for so many reasons. I don't. There's no point. Do your own research. I mean, she told her therapist, Dr. Klaus Hartman, forgive me, man, forgive me. I always. It's hard for me to separate Hilary Swank from this character. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, it's okay, man. No one's gonna fucking crucify you. It's okay. I know. Yeah.
But I mean, okay, I'll just say it for the sake of argument, in case you don't want to do your research. He told his therapist that she, because of negative connotations about lesbians and the fact that she was incestuously raped, that she was terrified of males. That's why Brandon Teena decided to do this, initially as a prank, and in the long run, it just became a habit out of self-protection, okay? And Kimberly Pierce should have taken that real story and done something with that, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Whether or not people wanted the movie to be about transgender male or not, like, this is of somebody who got murdered and whose original true story should have been told. So I fault Kimberly Pierce for that. This film is a good movie, in my opinion, and I'm okay with people putting their own things into it. I think that's healthy if you do it in a certain way. But I'm always going to have a problem when someone fucking takes facts and skews them to this type of thing.
And sometimes I think some of the facts skewed in this movie don't serve the plot, let alone what actually happened. I think that one of the weirder things about this movie is Janetta Arnett plays the mother of Lana and does a really good job. But she is this character that is filled with hate and transphobic and all this stuff, to the point that she goes and warns John that that Brandon reported the rape and essentially becomes the catalyst for Brandon being murdered. But in reality, it was the sheriff. It was Sheriff Charles Laux, the one that we do see in the film and who like is making Brandon relive the trauma. So I guess really a fourth traumatizing scene.
Who got sued in real life too.
Yeah. The Brandon Charles Laux, the sheriff did.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Good.
Fuck him.
Good, but he probably didn't lose because.
Oh, he did. It wasn't that much. It was like $80,000, but he did lose. He still went on to be a county commissioner and has had a fine life. So.
Well, fuck that guy because he was the one that actually warned John and Tom in real life. He was the one that actually told him that a rape had been. And again, Brandon Teena reportedly did not want to say what happened, but a rape kit was automatically done, and it was Laux that actually told those two guys, and that's why. That's why he was killed, Brandon.
Then I'll retract my note about the mom because I said that mom should fucking die as soon as she reveals
that character version. Well, we don't know anything about the real whatever the fuck Tisdale. We don't know her that even like the character's billed as Lana's mom. So
yeah,
Lana's
right.
Mom.
She's that '80s mom too, right? She was on I just recognized her from like a TV show or something. I couldn't look it. I didn't bother to look it up.
Familiar, but I couldn't place her. But
Dude,
I thought
hold the phone.
Work.
We got one of the Beckys from Roseanne here putting in a great performance.
Was that Candace?
Is that her?
Yeah, Candace.
I knew she was familiar. She does a really good job.
Oh my god,
she's great.
Wow. Yeah, she did great.
Yep.
Okay,
That's
that's
which
surprise.
Becky. I just know there was two.
Yeah. I think that the temporary Becky. I don't know.
Yeah. I also call this movie Scumbags the movie. A lot of scumbags in this movie. There's lots of wrongs in this movie too. So many wrongs. So many people being
offering
just
a
awful.
15-year-old girl a case of Keystone Light at the gas station in exchange for sexual favors.
And then immediately turn on her when she rejects you.
You bitch.
You fucking cunt.
Or forcing beer down your daughter's mouth and then screaming at her and calling her a little bastard when she wets on you. Like, the main thing to me, honestly, was like, as far as all of the characters go, when John leaves them all in the middle of nowhere, and takes Candace's car and just drives off, like that's when you're like, hey, you know what? This person's not a good person. This isn't someone I should have in my life. They don't value me, even if they like good beer, like Chalice White. Really, maybe this movie maybe crave Chalice White over and over again. They don't make it anymore. But other than that, it's like this dude's clearly a dickbag. Move on.
Oh. Yes, dude. I should have caught on to this. Again, not knowing it was a true story first watch, I was like, you got to get, these guys are ex-cons. They're telling you they're ex-cons, these two dudes. Yeah. So they're not good. But actually, I got to be honest, in today's world, I'm looking at it through how too many people are in prison. So maybe they got a bad deal. I honestly, now I'm seeing that out loud. I'm just kind of thinking it.
Here we go.
Like,
unquestionably.
Maybe they weren't. Yeah. I mean, like maybe they got a bad deal. I didn't know exactly what they were in prison for. Did they tell that in the movie? I missed it.
One of them was arson, right? I thought that was expressed in the film. I don't know if that's reality.
Oh, that's not great. But it could happen to anybody. But, either way, and then the guy, after they leave him stuck out there and they're by that fire trying to get through the night, the other guy starts showing how he's self-harming. I mean, this guy's got serious mental issues he needs to address, and they're not getting addressed unless he cuts himself, which also he kind of alluded to the fact that, like, the next step is I need to hurt other people, or otherwise I will hurt other people because that's what I'm doing.
Right. There's a moment
that mission is to kill somebody. Like he says, like, I feel like hurting somebody. It's scary.
That's right.
Excuse me, Travis, but I think those scenes really are smartly written because they plant such dread. Like what we know what's probably going to happen, but like it just creates such menace. And the unctuous Peter Sarsgaard has never been more unctuous. He's every time I look at him, even he's playing like a nice dad, I'm still like.
That scene with Brandon Sexton and Hilary Swank that you were just referring to, Mike, by the fire, he's like brandishing the knife and like pointing it at Brandon, and you're like watching it like this dude's a killer. Like he's telling you that he's a killer. This is not someone to keep spending your life with. And you see Brandon have these multiple opportunities to, like, he gives up the ride back to Lincoln. He goes back to he goes all the way to Lincoln to the courthouse and then doesn't present himself when the judge says his name. And like, so there is like this, and again, I don't know how much this is reality for the real Brandon Teena, but there is like this almost not culpability, but just like, damn it, like you were just so blinded by optimism and love, I guess, that you were just trying to follow this phantasm that wasn't there.
Well, he's living in fear too. I mean, like I said, he's a transgender dude living in terror of people knowing the truth. So you just keep pushing the lie because you don't want it. Once you have something good in your life, Brandon latched onto something that I love this woman. This is awesome. And it looked like things could turn the corner. I mean, earnestly saying that we're going to get married. I'm going to marry this girl when he goes back to Lincoln to talk about it. He's locked in. But I got to tell you, as a reviewer watching a film, again, not knowing the true story, I was like, Jesus, there's a harsh reality coming here. And not that, I had no idea how harsh the reality would be at all, but I meant you're going to eventually get busted here. You're going to have to serve time. The law's going to catch up to you. You haven't even left your own state. I thought it wasn't even that far away, So sooner or later, this was all going to crumble. And I kept saying that, and it was annoying. It was annoying, actually, because I'm like, I feel for this person. It's got to be difficult, but you're making so many choices that are just leading down a dead end where people are going to find out the truth, and I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to be pissed, or they're not going to love you anymore, and you won't be able to get married. So I also felt the way, like, I'm sad. I'm sad for this person, because this is also an immature person as well. This is not like some 45-year-old person who's lived a lot of life and has experience points, and I need to remember that as well.
The kid, yeah.
A lot of the choices that he makes are what makes me really, like, at the end of the day, really like the character, because he's so indignant and stubborn when anybody questions his identity on like 5 different occasions. He just refuses to address it because he doesn't have to. Fuck you, mind your own business. Even when that piece of shit sheriff finally breaks him down, the performance by Hilary Swank, her whole face is just quivering when he has to sputter out, okay, sexual identity disorder. Okay, there you have it. This is a reason if you need a reason. Otherwise, he's just keeping his mouth shut about what he is because it's nobody's goddamn business.
It was heartbreaking when he had to utter vagina. That was tough.
Yeah. Yep.
I think an important thing that's happening in this movie is that in 1999, we were not used to someone who presents female and steadfastly referring to themselves as he. I mean, like, you mean if you was a guy, you'd want to fuck me, he says at one point. And he says at another point something similar. He's like, I'm not a dyke, like I'm not a lesbian, excuse the slur. But like, he's making it abundantly clear in terms that people are still struggling to understand, 25 years later, that there is no doubt in his mind about his sexuality. The doubt is in you, or whoever. But as far as he goes, like there is no question. And then also another thing that the movie does that people need to be really, I think, aware of in real life is that trans people are more often, they're disproportionately homeless and disproportionately murdered. And so I think that, having some of the choices that Brandon makes, they're based around his homelessness and the lack of network that he has in his life. He has Lonnie, and Lonnie kicks him out and refuses to recognize he still dead names him. Lonnie does, still calls him Teena. So it's like there is no one for Brandon. So I think it's important to present that reality.
Yeah. Also, why would somebody ask? I thought it was total movie bullshit. Brandon, come up here. Let me get a closer look at your face. The mom scours the face. It was like, I wrote down, why would someone ask to see someone up close in front of everybody at a kitchen table in breakfast? It was just fucking stupid. I'm like, what is this? This is movie bullshit. Come on.
I'm looking for beard hairs. Did you shave today?
I know. It's like, what the fuck?
I don't know.
That really pissed. Also, go ahead.
Well, and then another important thing the movie talks about is he says at one point, I'll be an old man before I could afford gender confirming surgery, which that's another reality. There are all kinds of trans people that are ready and willing to make that step, but the states that they live in don't help them the way some states do. And it's a really expensive surgery to get on your own.
It is. Yeah, it's still expensive. It's not something you need support there. You need financial support. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. Also, the movie's called Boys Don't Cry. And We got song with a cover. Boys
Cover
Don't Cry
version.
by The Cure with a cover version,
An
however.
inferior cover version.
Very, very much inferior. I agree, it was. Also, the rest of the music was perfect for the film in terms of setting the mood of where this takes place. Again, Trash the movie. We got some Skinner. That song became huge, obviously, after Happy Gilmore came out in 95. But yeah, otherwise, I don't remember much of a score going on here.
Yeah, there's like a twangy
Is there a
thing
twang?
going on.
Oh, there's a twangy. Okay.
Yeah, it's a twangy thing.
I missed the twang. Sorry.
I dig the score.
A couple other notes too. Joe Lewis had tiny hands. I feel like a screenwriter looked that up, and that was just too screenwriter-esque for me when that was used in the line. It was too obvious. Do better, screenwriter. Drinking and driving, a lot of that. There been a light that has been more brighter in a car ever. I've seen Christine. I love Christine about killer cars, and this was the brightest light I've ever seen in the interior light of a car when they get down to it. I thought that was silly.
A lot of liberties with that dash.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Jesus God. Why do I do this to myself?
Wow.
Should they hired us? Forgive me here. I'm trying. Should they hired a cis male for this role?
No, because Brandon Teena was female presented.
Oh, no. That's not.
He never had.
I am so sorry.
Surgery.
The argument is, should they have hired a cis female for this role?
Well, they did.
Because I know, but should they have? Because a lot of people protested this at many screenings that Kim Pierce attended, saying that they were pissed at this movie for hiring Hilary Swank and not transgendered.
Okay, this is to me, this is where things are going to start to get more cloudy. We start moving into the talk about athletics in trans people. We start talking about acting. There's a big difference between trans should have basic human rights that every other person has. That's a fact. Everybody should. But then, the Scarlett Johansson movie that got destroyed a few years back, this is, to me, in my opinion, this is acting. And actors portray something or someone they're not. That's what acting is. So I don't need, I'm not transgender, so I guess I don't understand it. But for me, I don't need someone who is that person or from that background or has a similarity in their identity to play that role.
This would have been a nice opportunity for a trans person in 1999 to have this kind of role. And it was the kind of role that earned a relatively unknown actor an Academy Award very early in her career. So it was a powerful role. But Kimberly Pierce spent, I want to say, 5 years pushing the movie back, trying to find the right person to play Brandon Teena. I would imagine, I'm speculating, but I would imagine that she interviewed trans men as well as cisgender women to play the role, because the fact is that Brandon Teena did not have the surgery. So a cisgender woman could play him just fine. It would be true to life because it's as far as the appearances go. So there was no reason to, certainly it would not have made sense to have a post-op person or, someone who had gender confirming surgery done for them. So, I think that this is, this is such a sensitive and controversial topic that people who are adamant transphobes and then people that are allies and trans themselves, I could see people having, trans people having issues like that. And who the fuck am I to say that they shouldn't? But personally, it seems to me like Pierce tried really hard to find the right person to play Brandon Teena, and it was an Academy Award winning performance, so she must have done something right in that casting.
It wasn't just thrown together. Yeah.
Sorry?
It was. He says we should leave it at that, and I said it wasn't just thrown together. There was a real great effort made on Kimberly Pierce's part. So there may have been mistakes as a director here and there, but not in that arena, I would agree. Also, this... no. I also called this Systems of Belief, the movie, as well. People are just so locked into the indoctrination of the movie. People, they don't understand other ways of living because of the way our society is, and it just locks them in, especially out there in the plains. I mean, there's people who are self-righteous from the plains to New York City. I get that, but these people never stop to question their motives. And I'm talking about the dudes, I guess, who end up being the murderers particularly, but even the rest of the clan around them. Like when Candace finds the court documents and finds out that Brandon Teena, was a female. It's like, and she was devastated. She's on the floor crying. It was very sad for her, but she also told that the dude, like, yeah, he said you wouldn't tell anybody. Of course this guy was going to tell somebody, Right. Shoved it right in their face. It's just mistakes, and it's also immaturity and people not knowing how to handle situations like that. So I can understand that. It comes off as true, I suppose, because people are fucking stupid sometimes.
Totally agree.
Okay, so anything else before we put a bow on it that we didn't get to?
Go ahead, Eric.
I chose the film, and I'm glad I did, because it spurred some great conversation this morning, and it, spurred my mind. I'm glad I went back and took a look at the research, for myself. But when it comes to this film, as it stands on its own, we got a great movie here that's technically very impressive. The performances are off the charts. They're so real that the movie is difficult to watch. I mean, that's really hard. I can always just sit there and be like, it's a fucking movie. But this is an uncomfortable, difficult trial of a film. And that's a credit to this first-time filmmaker and these incredible actors. I dig the movie. I got a major issue with the liberties in this case. But holds up. I think it should be seen if you haven't checked it out yet.
Okay. I'll go next. There's one thing I didn't mention, and this really took me back. I can't believe I didn't mention it. It was some of the worst karaoke I've ever seen in a movie, I will say that. But it did remind me of the Whitmore Lanes. The lighting, the mood. Yeah, there was some Whitmore Lanes vibe up in there, wasn't there? I'm sure it wasn't something you thought about, but I did. So.
Yeah, I would watch Chloe Sevigny do karaoke while doing laundry.
There it is, Robert Downey Jr. Some other notes I wrote down in my review. Again, I'm coming from a whole perspective here. I'm sure there's other people like me who've never seen this movie and don't know this story. So I feel I'm not totally alone, but I'm definitely behind the times. I admit that freely. But I wrote down things like personal responsibility matters, even if society is a huge dick. So I was getting frustrated simultaneously, which is me. I'm seeing things in gray. The world is gray. It's not all just black and white. It's very much all convoluted and complex and intertwined. And it was frustrating to see some of the choices that Brandon makes as a character, because I know I'm watching a movie and I know that there is a secret that is so difficult to reveal. Like, how do you confront these people in Nebraska to say what you are trying to do, what you're about, when you believe it with every fiber of your being, but you have to go against these people who are so entrenched and so cruel. I mean, it's not a choice that I would ever want to have to find myself in, or I want anybody else to have to find themselves in. So the movie does a good job of that. Some of the details about what was true and what wasn't, Eric, you enlightened me a bit. That helped me out, and that was really useful. So I thank you for telling me that. Also, there was whippets in this movie. You don't always get to see whippets in a movie. That's fun. Whippets on a merry-go-round. That was cool. I thought it's important to whippet. Coverage in movies is lacking. So thank you for that. Yeah. Even though Governor Whitmer just recently outlawed whippets in Michigan. I'm very upset about this, but that's a side issue.
Because of that explosion.
Yeah, but we'll get around that. Don't worry. We'll be fine. So
I'm good.
Whitmer's whippets.
Whitmer's whippets. Jesus Christ. So I was confused, like I said, because I thought it was a flashback, but then I caught up, and then I find out it's true, and I'm just sitting there left at the end, just stunned. I was so like, oh my God, this is real? It was such a shock to me. Rarely do I get to have a movie shock me like that, and I'll never get to have that experience again, but this movie did that to me. I wrote based on a true story in all caps, with like 10 different exclamation points and question marks in here. I also wrote a black man was murdered and cut from the film, which we covered earlier. And one thing I wrote here was, I'll never watch this movie again. And I wrote that Manchester by the Sea was rewatchable for me, but this movie is so... It was pretty boring at times for me, unfortunately. And it sucks that Brandon Teena was murdered. It's fucking terrible, okay? But at the same time, a lot of the movie I was just like kind of dragging waiting for a reveal and not being. They did a good job of setting the tone and the pace and all that, but I just thought it could have been shorter as a film. And why would I ever want to go back and watch, the final brutality of this film? It's an important film, I get that, but for me, I'm not going to watch this movie again. What happened to Brandon Teena is a fucking national disgrace and will forever be a stain on this country's history. But for me, the movie doesn't hold up. Those are two different things.
Wow. I mean, I think that I agree in that I'm unlikely to watch the movie again because of the brutality of it. I saw it in 99, and I'm glad to have revisited since I had forgotten the brutality of it. But I'm also, I have trans people in my life. I'm reminded by them that this is the reality. Definitely, I think, and a performance that I can't remember. I didn't look off the top of my head, other major performances of women in 1999. But Hilary Swank, it seems like a well-earned Oscar, or at least a nomination. Really a hell of a performance. Peter Sarsgaard is a really, really strong actor, and he got to shine early on in this, and I think that probably helped his career. Chloe Sevigny showed up and was her, like she usually is. Again, like I think this is an important movie, and being an important movie doesn't necessarily make it a good movie, but I do think it's a pretty good movie. I agree that there's, especially like that was first 40 minutes or so, there's probably 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes that could have gotten cut out of there. It gets a little sluggish around that part. But in some ways, I prefer it to the traumatizing bits at the end. I do think it holds up. I'm not going to rush to watch it again. It is it's a film that probably needed to get made, and I think that it was made with sensitivity overall towards Brandon, if not 100% accuracy.
Yeah. Also, just to clarify, Travis, it looks like Hilary Swank was deserving. It was also Janet McTeer from Tumbleweeds nominated. Julianne Moore, The End of the Affair nominated. Meryl Streep, Music of the Heart nominated. The only argument I could make against Hillary, who I think is very deserving, is Annette Bening in American Beauty, who was very good in that role.
Yeah. So. And who was just denied for Naiad, which we didn't talk Oscars.
Oh, we didn't talk Oscars? Oh, that's right. Yeah, because
after the fact.
We talked pre-Oscars.
That was fucking weeks ago. Anyways.
Yeah. What day is this? Yeah, so Hilary Swank deserving, but Annette Bening was good.
I could add one more thing.
Yes.
I mean, like, if you are, and I work with kids who are like 9-10-year-old kids that are struggling with gender dysmorphia at my school. And if you're struggling with it, you're out there and one of our listeners that we don't know about, don't rely on your white trash friends in the rural Midwest. There's free confidential hotlines out there. LGBT National Youth Talk Line is one of them. There's support out there. You don't have to just rely on who you perceive to be your friends, because you
Crisis text line's good too.
Yeah,
you could just text somebody right away. Crisis text line.
It's a great point, Eric. Yeah, don't just rely on the people in your life. Even if they love you, they might not be able to be equipped to handle this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Great point.
Look, this is one of those areas. This is an important film. This is a very this is a very bust out the Apatow.
Wow, from Eric, that says a lot. He wants an Apatow film.
Yeah, this is
Freddie got fingered.
He's ready for Freddie got fingered. Now's the time. Strike.
Yeah, this is apropos, but the movie is important. But it's one of those I got caught up where like, you should see this movie, but for me, it doesn't hold up. But it's complicated. So hopefully you listen to everything I have to say. I agree with everything you're saying there, Eric. Of course, anybody who's struggling and feeling outcast from society unfairly and unjustly, you deserve all the help you need. Please reach out to others. People who are understanding are always nearby. They're never far away. Just trust me on that. So, for my pick next week, I've been wrestling with these 3 movies. I'm like, man, I want to do all 3. I guess I could do all 3 this year. So I'll just keep going back and forth on all 3. But I want to go do a movie. This may be to this point, this might be the epitome of this show for me. This is a movie I have not seen easily in almost 40 fucking years. 40 almost.
What?
About 37 years. Yeah. So I was young. And it's not I don't think it's a very well-known movie. It's from 1980. So we're going back to 1980 now. We're going back to an even more terrible time where people were even less understanding 1980. But it's a movie that's about cruelty in a whole new realm. We're talking about pirates, I think. And we're talking about, I think there's pirates involved. I can't even remember. I know that it stars Michael Caine. It was a Michael Caine movie. You know, we haven't done a lot of Michael Caine, have we? So let's go back to 1980. This is a movie that, may he rest in peace, Joe Yori, my mother's 4 times removed boyfriend, ex-husband from the 80s. We lived in his house in Farmington Hills. He was a child psychologist and an adult psychologist, and he was an alcoholic. But he had a great movie selection. He had Errol Flynn movies. He had all these movies in this beautiful glass case cabinets in the living room. And he had this movie, 1980s, The Island. We're going to go back to 1980 and watch this movie called The Island. And I hope we can find it. I really do.
Did you dream this? I don't think.
Did you look to make sure it's available anywhere before you made this choice?
I certainly, absolutely not. That's why I said I'm just got to go with my guts here.
Well,
I really want to look at this film.
We could find out really quickly before we nail this down. Give me a second. The Island from 1980.
Streaming. Amazon Prime. You can rent it for sure. That worst case scenario.
Yep, it's rentable on Amazon Prime and Apple. Okay.
Or watch The Island on Prime. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah, it's available.
Yay! Horror. This is a horror adventure too. It's called Horror Adventure, guys. That's pretty wild for me.
Wow.
Huh?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. David Warner.
Yeah. David Warner. Yes. David Warner is very much in this. Oh man, I just forgot that you said that. You're right. He is in this movie.
Okay.
Secretly used too. Okay, I'm excited.
Razor and Toka show up.
Toka, Razor. Good God in heaven, man.
They're babies.
Give us a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4.
3 months.
Well, we did say we are going to do this, Saturday. It is Saturday, so technically we're staying on that date. Hopefully in a week we'll do this movie. So there it is. Watch The Island.
Spring break, so if we could do this
perfect.
earlier in the day because Travis and I are off.
Yeah, we're both on spring break. I'd be very down to do it earlier.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you guys get motivated, let's see if society's on our side.
All right, cool.
All right.
Well,
thanks, everybody.
everybody.
CinemaHotPod@gmail.com. We love you all. You're good Americans and good international people. Wherever you are across our globe, we bid you adieu. Thanks for watching. Eric, Travis,